franktalks.com. Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com.
Listen to The Barry Morgan Show, live weekdays noon to 3 on CJAD 800 and CJAD.com.
But right now we're talking dating and relationship news with, as luck would have it, dating and relationship coach Frank Kermit, who is in for Dr. Laurie, and we're lucky to have him. Frank, how are you? Happy New Year again. Well, I saw you last week, didn't I?
Saw me last
so I take
week,
it back. I take it back. We'll save that one for next year, okay?
You're not wishing me a Happy New Year anymore?
Of course I do.
I'm wounded.
Oh, you're just joking, of course. By the way, if you have a question for Frank, 790-0800, or you could send a text to 514-800. And I think Robin and I discussed this briefly last week. Ghosting. Tell us about this movement, Frank.
Okay, it is a movement of women who are using a hashtag WasteHisTime in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you, I've been in this business a long time.
Yeah.
And this is nothing new. I have actually heard through my counseling of men being treated in these ways. So when I was going through the list of things that, these women are saying, oh, this is what I intend to do, or this is what I'm going to do, I actually have had men tell me through the process of coaching about some of these things that have happened to them.
Were you surprised at all? I'm guessing not.
Not surprised. I think the idea that now it's become like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go out and get them. Look, I get that some of these women may have been hurt by men when they were dating, but to actively go out intentionally hurting guys that were not the ones who hurt you, you're going out and actually hurting guys that have nothing to do with your past. You're not making the situation better. And it isn't the guy's time you're wasting, ladies. It's your own time. Because the more you focus on just trying to hurt people, the less you're focusing on finding someone that's worthy of being with you and you being a worthy enough person to be with them long term.
Yeah, but getting back at people, that's fun, isn't it?
Look, for some people, the idea of getting back at people can bring them a sense of peace. At least that's how they may feel in the moment.
Yeah, I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek here, but it's a natural human reaction,
of course. But if you're going to go out for revenge, at the very least, shouldn't you go after the person who is the individual who hurt you?
That makes sense.
Not a bunch of strangers who have nothing to do with the pain you experienced in the past.
So your message is focus more on yourself and what lies ahead instead of on somebody else who may have hurt you in the past.
Not only that, but if you've been hurt time and time again in your past, the common element is you. What red flags did you miss in your past that caused you to get hurt so much? And if you're not willing to look at that, taking it out on other people, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
But everybody gets hurt, and more than once. Well, most of us anyhow.
Look, you're going to get hurt even in the best of relationships because human beings are basically goofs. We make mistakes. And the person you love the most, well, they're human too, and they're going to make mistakes. You're going to get hurt. The question is, are you able to communicate things about not wanting to get hurt? Are you able to say, these are my rules, these are my boundaries, don't cross these lines? Most people cannot. Most people don't know how to communicate what's important to them. Biggest question I get a lot is, how do I tell a person on a first date about X? Because they have no idea how to even bring up things that are important to them. And this is part of the problem. But to actively go out and do things like get him to pay for your dinner and then at the end of the night tell him, oh, it's so great to have a friend like you. You know what? That's just mean. And if you keep being mean to people, someday, and this is fair warning for anybody, regardless of the gender, if you keep being mean to people, someday you're going to be mean to somebody who may not have all of their faculties, and you might get hurt.
Alex texted, oh, so when ladies keep rejecting me at bars, it's just because they're ghosting. Makes me feel better, thanks. Well, I'm not too sure about that.
Look, dude, if the ladies keep rejecting you at bars, then maybe you should look at how you're approaching them. Are you doing something like Are you approaching every single girl in the bar, and then these girls figure, okay, this guy's just a player. He's not really into me. He's just looking to score tonight.
Yeah.
Or are you approaching them in a way that's making them feel, hey, this guy's actually interested in something that I have to offer?
Do you find that people are going, like they're actually going out to meet people more often? Would you say more couples are getting together these days by meeting in bars, or is it really mostly happening online?
There's a lot of people who are dating online just because there's a little bit less rejection when you're dealing online. People who are going out to bars and clubs are going out for one of two reasons. Either they want to meet someone, or they're just looking for attention. And you have to know who it is that you should be approaching when you're at a bar or a club. Because if the person is just looking for attention, you're likely going to get rejected, or you're likely going to get somebody who's trying to use you. If, however, you are looking for someone that is looking for someone, there are very simple signs. For example, look for people who are not coming in large groups. Look for people who are likely coming in alone. Spend a little time with your back to the wall, scanning the room and just observing behavior. That, more than anything else, is going to give you an idea of who's there to meet someone and who is there to waste your time.
Okay. There was a recent survey about sexual harassment against men. Yeah, Frank?
Oh boy, that has gone up so much as more and more women are taking senior positions and management positions.
So they're doing to guys what a lot of guys have done to women over the years.
Yeah, and here's the difference though. When a man is sexually harassed on the job, a lot of the times he's told, well, you know what, you should just be happy. You should be thrilled that it's happening to you. Well, you didn't have to work for that attention. Man up. Don't be such a baby. It's all in fun. What's your problem? Oh, you're too sensitive. You would never say that to a woman nowadays. And that's the problem. It's the hypocrisy involved. Because if you're a man and you're going to work, and a woman who is your superior at work is touching you in ways you don't like, is getting too close to you in ways you don't like, is making inappropriate jokes.
See, but right now, I bet you some people are thinking, well, what's wrong with that? You're a guy, you want that kind of attention.
That's the problem. Yeah. That's the problem.
But
people
harassment is harassment.
Exactly. And just because a man was born a man doesn't make it okay. It's no more okay than a male doing it to a female who's not interested.
Sure. I mean, it should work both ways.
Okay, and it should, but it doesn't.
2:17 is the time right now. The Barry Morgan Show with producers Matt Gilmore and Robin Flynn. Hello there, Matt. Matt's new to the show. Welcome. And so if you call, that's the voice you will hear. We like him so far, yeah? It's only day one, but so far he's doing a pretty good job. True or false coming up in the next half hour, but right now we're continuing with Frank Kermit, who is a dating and relationship coach. Where did you see this, Frank? This story and this issue, and I'm guessing you've dealt with this before, people coming to you, asking you for some advice, how you handle it if your partner is too depressed for sex.
Okay, let me just give you the answer right away, and the answer starts with acceptance. You have to accept that your partner simply is not interested.
Not much choice, I guess.
And it has nothing to do with you. Well, a lot of people internalize it. They think, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not sexy enough. Folks, if your partner is depressed, even if they tell you, and sometimes this is where it gets nasty, the depressed partner not even able to acknowledge that they're going through a depression, because not everybody knows. When you are in that depression state, you may not even be aware that you're depressed. All you know is that you're not interested in just about anything. And so when your partner tries to be with you, it becomes a matter of, well, you know what? I'm still mad at you. Okay, mad at me about what?
Yeah.
And or I'm just not turned on by you anymore. I'm just not in love with you anymore. Because that's the way depression makes people feel. Depression alters your perception of reality. So you have to understand, if you can identify the fact that your partner is depressed and realize it's not you, there's nothing you can say or do that's going to make your partner want to be closer to you. All you can do is accept the fact that they are depressed right now. Sexual interest is one of the first things to go, one of the last things to come back. Best thing you can do is actually try to be there and support them through it while they try to find help.
Try to get some therapy.
And whether it's therapy, whether it's medication, because sometimes there's something chemical going on in their brains and you need medication for that. And sometimes people have to experiment, because one medication may have side effects which are really bad. Another medication may not have the same side effects, but it may take longer for it to enact.
And let's face it, that has a huge, could potentially have a huge impact on a marriage, on a partnership. What do you tell the partner who is, not being satisfied, so to speak? What do you tell the man or the woman in that kind of a circumstance? You don't want to say, hey, get out because, you're never going to have sex again.
No.
But then, what if that is the potential for the rest of a relationship?
Okay,
for who knows how long?
For the first thing I would say is, if the situation were reversed, would your partner stand by you? That's the first thing. In most cases, most people say, well, yeah, my partner would likely stand by me. And this is the thing to remember. It can happen to anybody. Okay? There's that saying, there but for the grace of God go I.
Sure.
It could happen to everybody. That could be you going through that, and you're hoping your partner would stick by you, for better or for worse. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would ask them is, have you ever had a conversation while you were courting, while you were engaged, while you were early in your marriage? Did you ever have that conversation? And by the way, in pre-marriage coaching programs, this is the one question that brings up the most anxiety, the most trouble, the biggest fights, where people literally get up and walk out of my office saying, I don't want to talk about this.
No kidding.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
If you or your partner, for whatever reason, go through some type of injury, go through some type of medical situation where you can no longer have sex or your partner can no longer have sex, what is your expectation? And you would be amazed. People don't even want to discuss it.
Because they don't want to even think about it, most people, I would imagine. I know. I don't want to think about stuff like that.
No one wants to think about it. But if you're going to pledge your life to somebody, it's a necessary conversation. And what I tell a lot of these couples, if you can't even have a real conversation about things like death, inheritance, an inability to satisfy your partner sexually at any point in your life, if you can't have these very real conversations, you're not mature enough to get into a serious relationship.
So you think those are the kinds of conversations that all couples thinking about getting married?
If you're going to get serious with somebody, pledge your life to somebody, you're darn right. If you or your partner ever reach a point where you simply cannot have sex, what are your expectations? Do you expect your partner to continue to be monogamous to you? Do you reach a point at that juncture where you say, well, go ahead and satisfy yourself in some other way, I just don't want to know about it? Do you actively participate in helping your partner get their needs met?
Yeah.
Because here's what I see. Once people are in this situation, the talk about, give you an example. Somebody's unable to have sex, but they don't even want their partner to self-pleasure. They don't want their partner to masturbate because their attitude is, if you masturbate without me, that's an act of infidelity.
What? Somebody's told you this?
Yes,
No.
I've had people.
How can they justify that kind of a point of view?
Because when they're in that headspace of whether it's depression, whether they're going through chemotherapy, whether they're going through something, they're not in the right headspace to begin with. So they're already feeling vulnerable. They're already feeling bad. They're already in pain. So the idea of their partner getting any sort of pleasure away from them feels like a threat. And this is why you have to have these conversations when you are both level-headed, clear-headed, and very early on in the relationship, so at least the expectation is there. So that you know, okay, I know that if for whatever reason I cannot satisfy my partner, first thing we might look at are marital aids, toys.
Those conversations would lead to a lot fewer marriages, don't you think?
Quite possibly, but then again...
Which might not necessarily be a bad thing, by the way.
No. Like I said, if you can't have these basic human conversations about what really matters in a relationship, and the fact is when bad stuff happens, you got to be able to cope. You can't handle that, don't get serious.
Is there a website out there, Frank, that's that you might consider, say, mainstream, that's actually looking, as we move on to another story now, couples looking to add another person to their relationship, so to speak?
I am very excited about this next topic. We're talking about the website OK Cupid. It is a dating website that already had a number of categories for people to list themselves as non-monogamous. Here's the catch. What they're looking to implement is to allow people who are couples, who consider themselves couples in non-monogamous relationships, to link their profiles and to actively seek out either a third partner, another couple, maybe, or just a variety of people to date under their non-monogamous banner of a relationship. Here's a very interesting fact. Only 44% of the people on that website are strictly monogamous.
Okay.
Only 40, they're in the minority.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of the percentage are people who are looking for some type of non-monogamy, whether they just want to date a lot of different people at the same time or have a primary partner and a number of other partners, or whether they are already in a relationship and they're looking for partners, whether sexual or romantic based, to join an already existing relationship. This is one of the first times that a mainstream dating website has really opened this up. Prior to this, anybody who is in a polyamorous relationship where they make romantic connections with more than one person at the same time, or a strictly sexual relationship where we're dealing with swingers, had to go to specialty sites for that. Now it's opening up to the mainstream. There's things that are changing out there, and it's an exciting time if you're out in the world of dating because you have a lot of choice. Unfortunately, if you don't know how to manage that choice, you end up with a lot of misery.
So we're talking about, if your partner's potentially depressed and that's leading to less sex. This person took the time to text, I'm on the improving edge of that situation. My girlfriend has been in a major depression for years. She's been getting treatments. I almost left her, but it's working out. Her depression is fading. We're having sex. It's not anywhere near as frequent as I'd like, but it's getting better. Talk about it. I made her feel guilty, and that made things worse.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? It's, again, human nature to be angry with your partner for not giving in. And here's part of the problem. You can't really see depression. If somebody gets a broken leg, then you're not going to be realistic in demanding that they should be still able to go out and dance with you. There's a certain level of understanding that, okay, the leg is broken, and at some point, and we may never be able to dance again like we used to, but you can actually see it. You can't always see depression.
Yeah, no question.
So when people say, well, you look fine, you should just be willing to do it, what about my needs? You got to understand that being in a depression, you are dealing, and this is one of the ways I try to help people understand. You're basically dealing with a brand new person. And if that helps you understand that all those things that applied before may not necessarily apply anymore, and if that helps you through this, great. Another challenge with depression is that there's no end date. It's not like a broken leg that will mend by a certain point, and at some point
like you would expect, at least, yeah.
Depression can go on for an indefinite period of time.
What's this last one about professional cuddlers?
Oh, wonderful new profession for some people. It's professional cuddling. You're dealing with people who are touch-starved. Most of the clientele tend to be older men who are either divorced, mostly widowed, and they just want some physical touch, but they don't want to cross the line and go to prostitution. So as a professional cuddler, you can make up to $75 an hour, as low as $20 or $30 an hour. You find somebody, you get along, and you cuddle. But it never goes into a sexual realm. And some people are actually really okay with that. They just want the physical companionship. They want the physical touch. They cuddle, they talk, they get a back rub, a back scratch, and that's pretty much it. It's a really safe way for some people to just get some level of intimacy without putting themselves at risk, without feeling that they're putting their families at risk, without having to risk catching a sexually transmitted infection.
Yeah.
And it's catching on. More and more people are doing this.
They had somebody on, believe it or not, America's Got Talent, who was a professional hugger, a young woman. She comes on stage. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember if she actually got through the second round. I really don't remember, but here she was. That was her act, hugging. And then they got everybody on in the act, and then it was a whole free-for-all. Hey, Frank, thank you for sitting in for Dr. Laurie the past couple of weeks.
Thank you for having me. I love talking with you, Barry.
That is Frank Kermit, a dating and relationship coach. You can catch him. He's a regular contributor to Passion with Dr. Laurie. He also has a column on the Suburban Online on a regular basis. Frank, thanks as always.
Thank you.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, CJAD.com.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, 'cause Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com. franktalks.com.